Alright, get a new 30-minute game going. Got the black pieces today. 1e4, c6, the caro-kann. Our opponent's taking up the full center. Good job. Oh, we get a mainline caro. I think the move here is we take, they take back with their knight. We get our bishop out to f5. If they reinforce with their bishop, it's not correct because we pick up a free pawn. It's off to a good start. And then I think here we can take, depending on what our opponent does, we can take, they take back, we take, and then we're up 2 pieces. So already off to a strong start, knowing a little bit of theory has led us to be up a pawn in the early game. Now, obviously this has become very dangerous very quickly. We should proceed very carefully and ensure we don't just give away the game. Our king is a little bit exposed, so maybe getting castled quickly is a good move. I do want to look real quick. We have a check available to us, queen to b4, but they have in response c3, which doesn't look amazing. Other options, I think we can play e6 to reinforce our light squared bishop and prepare to get our other pieces out. I think, oh, you know what we could do? Knight out to f6 in a moment looks decent, so we could do this exchange here. If they take here, we can play knight out to f6. Yeah, I like the look of that. So let's start this exchange. We want to trade away our light squared bishop anyway. Yep, and then we can play out, let's see, play out our knight to f6. They do have this check available to them. Bishop takes on c6, but we can take back with our pawn, or even better, we can take back with our knight. And I don't see any other checks available to our opponent, which is good. So let's get our knight out. I believe they need to move their bishop out of the way. If they want to do something like attack our queen, we can pick up the bishop for free. Okay. They get their light squared bishop out of the way. Well done. I think here we play e6. Our opponent has this check available to them, which looks potentially nasty. Well, I mean, we're guarding it a couple different ways, but I still want to be careful about that. So let's play e6, get our dark squared bishop out and get castled. Yep, I was going to say c3 looks decent, in which case I think we just drop our queen back to b6, which is a good square for the queen regardless. Sort of effectively pinning their dark squared bishop in place, because they need it as a defender of the b2 pawn. So I like that. I'm going to look briefly for other options. I don't see any. Yeah, that looks good to me. And now if they want to attack us, we can take that pawn. Knight out to h3, really the only move for the knight. Looks like they're trying to get castled as quickly as possible, which is a strong move. The check that we have available to us is queen takes f2 check, but that loses the queen, which, of course, I'd rather not do. So we can proceed with our development. Let's get our dark squared bishop out, maybe to f6. We can maybe, once they get castled, we can look at ideas. excuse me, of taking this h2 pawn. So I like bishop out to f6 or d6. Expecting to see castles. Yep. Now we can take a moment. One appealing option that I always like to do is bishop to c7, queen to d6. Somehow we can find a way to do that. And then queen takes on h2 checkmate. Of course, I like to get castled before doing any shenanigans. So I'm going to go ahead and get castled. And then we have a moment to breathe and explore what we would like to do next. Their dark square bishop is still effectively pinned in place. Okay. Their rook comes out hitting our bishop, which is hanging. We could play c5 here, connecting the queen and the bishop, which looks good. We could also play rook out to d8. We do something like knight out to d5. That doesn't look as good. I like the idea of c5 because that opens up a square for our knight as well and allows us to connect the rooks. Oh, you know what that does do? That opens up bishop takes on b7, but we do have our queen guarding that square, so that's not too bad. Okay. Let's do that. Now tactics begin to become available of bishop takes on g2, and if we had like a rook here or something, we might be able to take their rook for free. So let's keep an eye on those. I do want to get our knight out first. Okay, they get their dark squared bishop out. Potentially, I mean, definitely putting pressure on this pawn. We no longer have the option of queen takes on b2 because their queen is guarding that square. So I think we go ahead and get our knight out, and if they want to trade pieces, that's... Well, actually, no, that doesn't work, does it? Because if we get our knight out here, that interrupts the connection between the queen and the bishop, and then they can simply take our bishop. So let's, maybe we play our rook out to d8 to add a defender to this bishop, and then we can play our knight out. We can play it out either way. We can play it out to d7, leaving the queen bishop connection, or we can play it out to c6, leaving the rook bishop connection. And I like knight to c6 a little bit more, because I think using our rook to defend the bishop is a better use of a less valuable piece. All right. Pawn comes out to b4, threatening to take and fork our pieces. And of course, we can't take here because their bishop is x-raying our queen. And looking at, let me see. If they take, can we take back? So it's takes, and then we do this trade. And then they can potentially come down and pick up our rook with checkmating idea. So I think if we play out our knight, we can win this exchange. So our queen is going to move eventually, so I think we could also play out our knight to, I guess if we play out our knight to, this is tough. We play out our knight to a6, and they push, it's potentially trapped. We would need to come back to like c7, and then our position is very cramped. We could move our queen down to c7, threatening this nasty-looking check on h2. We don't have time to assemble the full battery, because if we move back here, they take... Well, actually, maybe that is an option. drop our bishop back. They don't have rook takes rook because we have bishop takes rook. Drop our bishop back. If they take instead, I guess we don't have any real queen ideas. We can't move up here to infiltrate. Or I guess, yeah. If they take, then we have rook takes. Their rook takes back. That doesn't look very good for us. So, yeah, I don't like bishop takes quite as much. So maybe instead we maybe drop our queen back to c7, preparing it takes on h2, and then we can always retreat to e5. Looks like a good square for the bishop, hitting this pawn and potentially harassing their rook as well. So let's drop our queen back to c7. Also getting out of the way. Okay, so they take. We will take the check. King needs to move out of the way. And then we'll come back. Actually, I guess we could trade rooks here. I think that's starting to look in our favor. We're up. I guess we're just up a pawn. Not amazing. So we could take here. They take back, and they're allowed to develop their other rook. I like the idea a little bit better of getting our bishop back. Well, our bishop isn't in any danger right now. If we do make this trade, get our other knight out. Potentially come around like this too. That looks decent. That looks like a lot of work, actually. Yeah, so maybe trade rooks. Okay, and then we'll get our knight out. Being very careful not to interrupt this diagonal. Maybe bishop back to e5 would have been a better move there. Would have been a much better move. They trap our bishop. Although, if we take here, and take back, and then we have queen takes on g3, and that looks potentially very dangerous. We would have to be very careful there. I think they can. Well, they can't get their knight out. They could get their knight out to f4. But then I don't think we have any real dangerous ideas there. Okay. It's all right. We can't get our rook out like this because they trade. We could push b6 here. Takes. Knight over to e5 looks decent. Hitting their light squared bishop, which I think would be a good trade. They have the bishop here right now, and I would like to trade that off if possible. So let's get our, I guess, knight out. They have bishop to f4. And then our knight is effectively pinned. Well, then we can take this pawn. Okay, yeah, let's get our knight out to e5. Here. Takes, still defending this knight. and then we can maybe take their white squared bishop. Okay, so they're gonna go for it. What we can do potentially, I guess we can take here. They take back with their queen, and then we don't have something like knight to g4 to protect the bishop because their queen will be protecting that square. I think I want to start with this takes anyways. So that opens up our queen to the g3 square. Queen takes. No forks that I can see. Taking the pawn looks about as good as we could do, and then they have to take with the queen or the pawn. Takes knight out to d5, hitting their dark squared bishop, potentially. Looks decent. And I don't see any other. I guess we could come out to queen to a5, hitting this pawn and that pawn. But we can do that afterwards, I think. Well, I do want to get as much material as possible for this bishop. So I think if we take that pawn, we're in a slightly better position. All right. Takes. Knight out over here, hitting their dark squared bishop. They potentially move here, and then we can move. Well, no, I think we need to make this move immediately because right now they're. Ooh, something that looks very dangerous. If we get our queen out of the way, queen takes on b7, forcing her knight back, or forcing her rook back to f8. Oh, that looks really bad. We could preempt that with rook to d8, rook takes, queen takes. Although trading pieces is probably pretty bad for us right now. Because if we have queen out here, queen takes here with check, their king maybe moves back to one of these three squares. And then we have not an enormous number of options. Then we have queen over to e2, forking their bishop and their rook. But then they have queen takes on a8, and that looks like checkmate. So I think perhaps creating an escape square first is a good idea. Let's snorkel thoughtfully. I think h6 looks like the best. It prevents a knight out to g5, which looks dangerous. It curbs the development of their dark squared bishop. And then if we play g6, for example, it allows them to use their dark squared bishop to clog up our escape square. So let's play h6. And then we can move forward with queen to a5, forking these two pieces. King moves, okay, to h2. That does give us a check if we need it. That obviously loses our knight right now. Oh man, maybe h5 would have been a little bit better. permitting this nice outpost, forking their king and their dark squared bishop. But let's move forward with our plan. Forking two of their pawns. Our king is safe. Their king is exposed. We are down a piece. Maybe it takes. Honestly, queen up to a4 looks decent too. That permits us this knight to g4 check protected by the queen. But I think I would rather win the piece first. So, queen to b7. Now, then we do have knight to g4 check. Potentially driving them to, let's see, g2, queen takes, out to f3, and then I don't think we have anything from there. We have like queen to d5 check, but their queen guards that square. It still feels decent. We haven't developed. Okay, so they take. So we could take here first, driving their king back this direction. Or we could do this check first. Oh, this check looks very powerful because we're forking their unguarded dark squared bishop. So let's take this first. Potentially moving to g2 is permitted. I think the better moves are back here, because if they move to g2, then we have takes and another fork, also winning their rook. So g2 is the worst. Yeah, that looks better. And now we have to proceed very carefully. Because if we take this piece, they have queen takes rook check, king back to h7, and then they can get their rook out of the way. Maybe rook down to d7 looks very dangerous. And then I think we have an option to... I guess we can't quite deliver check to their king. Queen takes a2, takes rook, king g7, rook down, and then we have queen to h2 check. Importantly, not a checkmate. I think we might be able to get checkmate pretty quickly there. Another check they have available to them is the immediate rook to d8, but then there we have rook takes on d8. We could move our rook over to f8 sort of as a preventative measure, and that actually looks very, very good. Defending our pieces, not giving it up for free. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. Rook over to f8 first. Queen back, okay. We could push h5 to defend this piece. We could drop our knight back to e5 to hit their queen. That looks decent. Do we have any other moves? Yeah, if we knight to e5, maybe a queen move. to like e4, and then we can take this pawn at the same time reinforcing our knight. Looks pretty good. All right. Hit their queen. They will presumably move somewhere to attack it. They need to move their queen out of the way, importantly. So queen to f4 or e4, I'm expecting here. Moving to a place that hits our knight. And that will allow us to pick up this pawn. And then they have rook over to c1, which looks like it could be dangerous. I guess in that case, I don't like that so much. We do have this check available to us. They move back. Okay. That doesn't defend the piece they needed to defend. So I think we can pick up this pawn. I guess we'll see if that was a bad idea or not. And then, okay, they come out forking our pieces. We have knight to f3 check. So their options are if they take with their queen, we pick up their queen, so that's no good. And if they move their king out of the way here, we can take their bishop. That looks very good to me. We have this check available to us, but that loses our queen to their queen. So let's play this with check. They need to move out of the way, as they can't recapture productively. And unfortunately, this doesn't leave us with a way to deliver checkmate. I think this would be the only checking option. Any new checks available to us? I don't think so. Queen takes, loses to the rook, so we'll take the knight. And then we have this really nice looking queen takes on c5, and then knight moves, out of the way somewhere with a discovered attack. And if their queen moves out of the way, we have this wonderful queen to f3 check supported by our knight. So with that tactic, we are up a piece again. I think that's lucky, honestly, but you got to take what you get. Very interesting. Queen moves over to d2. We have, as discussed, we have this check available to us. Let's see, where does their king go? These two are covered by the knight. These would all be covered by the queen. So their king moves back to win by resignation. I'm going to decline the rematch because we need to get into the review. I wonder what they saw. This. Maybe king moves back here. And then another check, like knight to e2. I think potentially just driving them to checkmate. Yeah, let's take a look at the review. All right, I found a tactic to grow your lead into a win. Yeah, that felt pretty good. Let's find out where our first critical blunder was. We got the caro, main line. D3 is good, but we get that free pawn. E2 is good. Trading was a good move here. Yep, we have a slight advantage out of the opening. H3 is best. Knight moves into the game. D6 is good. They castle. We castle. Both classic moves. This loses us a pawn, which of course we don't want. So queen back to c7 would have been better there. I think, yeah, it makes sense to me. Without sort of the central pawns on like e5 and d4, it makes a lot less sense to push d5 to contest our opponent's pawn chain because the pawn chain simply isn't there. So I think retaining this defensive structure would have been a better move here. Makes sense to me. Okay, they connect the rooks. Taking the rook would have been a better move there. I'm sure there's some tactic there. They take... We take... Yep. We trade rooks, get our knight into the game. They trap our bishop, which is good. This was a big mistake, I guess. Oh, yeah. Well, black can't stop white from winning material if they make the right moves. So what did we have? Oh, yeah, we didn't have this check here, or this capture. So we had queen takes. Oh, and then they have two attackers. Okay, so then they can take... and I guess I don't have to take back. So they're up a piece here, and they're threatening to win another one since our bishop is trapped. Okay. Back at the game, g2, so they had an option there. We take, they take. We lose our bishop, but we get up a couple of pawns. H2 is good. Yep, they take that pawn. We have that check. Rook to f8 is best. I'm glad that we retreated that piece. Queen to f3 is a mistake. Better move to move the bishop to safety. I should have captured the pawn here, just giving up the knight, I guess. So we take here. They take the knight. Oh, and then we take their bishop with check. Okay, so that would have been decent too, but I'm glad it worked out the way it did. There we get the free pawn, hanging on to as many pieces as we can. d4 is a blunder. We have this wonderful check available to us. Queen to f2. Knight takes d4. Queen d2 is a mistake. This move gives you an opportunity to win their queen. So I wonder, yeah, what's the follow-up here? Yeah. And just like an enormous sequence after this to win a piece. Okay. Yeah, so I think it is what we identified of queen over, king moves. I guess if king moves back in this direction, we have check. King moves up, and then we win a knight there. Or they want us to just keep... So we have a perpetual there, and then here knight comes in. If they move, we have checkmate. Yep. Yeah, so if they move their king, they have checkmate. Their queen needs to take their knight, and then we pick up their knight, or pick up their queen with our queen. And then it's a winning game. Cool. So very lucky for us, blunder turned into another blunder. You know, whoever blunders last loses. So we were able to take advantage of that subsequent blunder from our opponent. And frankly, I think we got very lucky. So, God, even with the time that I'm spending on these moves, maybe I should be warming up with puzzles in the morning. Maybe I should play a couple of blitz practice games just to get into the flow of things. Something to think about. How do I prepare for my daily chess game so that we more reliably get wins like this one? Cool. I think that's all for me. Have a good one, y'all.